Hi, Peter here, and welcome to today's episode of The Transition Guy, where I will be covering a topic close to my heart, above and below the line, which really is all about attitude and how we turn up in life. The reality is our attitude is what we choose it to be. Our mood is what we choose it to be. Our outlook is what we choose it to be. And so often when seeing people, speaking to people, it really saddens me that their attitude and outlook totally sucks. It's horrible. And today we are going to change that. You know how we're going to change that? We're going to change that by drawing up the line. Do you see this line here? Okay, the line is a separation point. And it's our choice whether we live our life above the line or below the line. And let's start with what happens if you choose to live your life below the line. So do we know people in life that just are habitual blamers, where it's always somebody else's fault, yeah? So if something bad happens, it's never their fault, somebody else. Probably one of my favourite examples of where blame was really prevalent was, remember back to 2008, 2009, when the economic disaster happened, when the banks crashed, etc. And actually people were losing their homes and businesses were being closed down. Banks were actually foreclosing on businesses. And I used to speak to people that were losing their businesses. And do you know what they said? It was the bank's fault. People that had huge credit card debt and were sort of asked to repay it and they couldn't afford to, and they were losing their possessions, they had their cars repossessed or whatever. It was never their fault. It was always the bank's fault. Blame somebody else. You know what the reality is? That's total bullshit. It was never the bank's fault. It was your fault. If this has happened to you, it was no one else's fault. Do you know why? Because you were ill prepared. You see, the banks closed down the businesses that weren't properly geared. See, banks are in the business of making money. The only way they can make money is by lending money. You see, if you borrow too much and your business sort of shrinks because the economy's shrunk and you can't afford to pay back your loan, it's you, nobody else. In the old days, guess what people used to do? They used to save. Guess what people don't do anymore? They tend not to save. Why? Because credit is easily available. It's that I want it now sort of. It's a whole culture about I want it now. And really, you've got no one else to blame but yourself. So now we have excuses. And really an excuse is another word for reasons. And do we know people that always have a reason why something can't happen, or a reason why something cannot be done? You can relate to that? Absolutely. And finally, there is denial. Now, yes, contrary to public belief, denial is not a river in Egypt. Denial is often what people experience. They tend to kid themselves that there isn't a problem. Business owners do this all the time, especially when it comes to cash flow, as an example. Cash is running out, cash is running out. No, there's not a problem, there's not a problem. Head in the sand, it will be okay, it will be okay. No, it will not. So if you look at below the line and you look downwards, you see the acronym BED. Yeah? Blame, excuses, denial, spells out bed. And what we tend to say is you make your bed and you lie in it. Now, what's the challenge with living below the line? People that live below the line tend to have a really negative outlook on life. It isn't really pleasant. Can you imagine saying to somebody, "Hi, how are you today?" How often do you hear, "Yeah, I'm great," which is quite positive and uplifting? Or how often do you hear, "Not bad"? Well, what does not bad really mean? I'll tell you what it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean not good. So if it's not good, what's the opposite? Do you really enjoy hanging around with these people? Do they really fill you with confidence? Do they are they the people you want to just hang out with and build a business with? Absolutely not. Very often these people below the line, do you know what they're referred to? Have you ever heard the term mood hoover or fun sponge? These are the people that totally drain your energy. In fact, those of you that watch Harry Potter, they're the Dementors. They are just bad people hanging out with. They have a loser mentality. What they tend to do is they try to find people who are in their situation. So you know all the negative people, they don't want to be negative by themselves, so they go and find their negative friends. And then what they do is they have a pity party. And you know what a pity party is all about. You'll be able to relate to it. Because guess what they'll be saying to you? Well, guess what they say to each other? They'll have a competition. Whose life is the worst? And it'll be, well, your life can't be as bad as mine because mine has this, that and the other. Terrible, terrible, terrible. These are the kind of people, it could be 35 degrees out there. Yep. They would be the only one with a cloud about them. Everyone else is getting a suntan and is pissing down on them. They are what you would call your archetypical shit magnet. They attract everything bad into their life. Now, if you've got a team made up of these people, you might as well just get your notes. Yep, you know your £50 note, £20 note, dollars, whatever, your currency, and just set fire to it because you're getting no return on your investment. Now, the worst thing is most people do not realize they're living below that line. Most people have never been exposed to sort of blame, excuses, denial. So if you know people that are living their life below the line, please do them a massive service and show them this video. Do you know what? Let them make their own decisions. Show them that there's a better way. But don't allow people to live in ignorance, because that is a really horrible way to live. Anyway, enough of that negativity. Let's move above the line where it's a bit more fun. So as soon as you move above the line, it's a totally different energy. And let's start with ownership. Ownership's really saying, do you know what? I'm going to take control. I'm going to own this. So I'll give you a great example. We all have adversity in our lives, yep? We either can allow the adversity to drop us below the line, which is really the reactive stuff where we're not going to get anything done. Or we can say, do you know what? This is the reality. Shit has happened. I need to do something about it. I need to make some choices which I can affect, where I can make a positive move forward and actually make a difference. And what you find is these people, they'll come into a business and you'll see them with employees, you can even see it with business owners. I'll give you a great example. We talked before about people losing their business. You know what? There are people out there that I know that took ownership of that and said, you know what? I'm not going to be defeated. I'm actually going to go and learn the reasons behind why my business failed the first time round, and I'm never going to let it happen again. And it's supposed, instead of being the victim and saying for the rest of their lives, well, I was a failed person because the banks took my business away. No, do you know what? I'm going to make sure that never happens again. I'm actually going to go and I'm going to win. I'm going to succeed. And that's the first stage of a winning mentality, being proactive about it and saying, do you know what? Never again. That is ownership. Whether or not we like our results, we are accountable for them. And until we actually fess up and get comfortable with our results and actually say, do you know what? I am going to be accountable. I am going to make the change. Then nothing will ever happen. And proactive people, guess what they are? Accountable for their results, accountable for what goes on in their life. They are prepared to change and make the difference. And the final one is responsible. And true winners know how to be response-able. They choose their responses to situations. The people below the line, they respond negatively to situations. The people above the line, they respond positively. I mean, there is a great saying I love. Where there is shit, there is fertilizer. So now it's time for you to make a choice. For those of you above the line, fantastic, keep going. But it's not just keep going. You have a responsibility now to help other people below the line. Why would you allow people to remain below the line when they don't need to? And for those of you below the line, yes, times are hard, things are not where you want them to be. Ask yourself the question, do you really want to be the fun sponge, the mood hoover, the shit magnet that everybody is trying to avoid? Or do you want to make a change and actually do something with your life that will give you the happiness and give you the fulfillment that you know you can have? Remember, it is a choice.